Alright, so yes, let's just create a copy of everything, blow that away, delete one of the buttons. Boom. So let's find the button again. Now I'm just gonna do things slightly different, but so get element by ID and query selector, as I've been doing before, gets you the same thing. This one here just only takes an ID, it cannot do complex searches. So button1.add event listener, whenever we click on it, we should do something. We should set a timeout that whenever it happens, logs out button one click was delayed 3 seconds or something. And we need to tell it in milliseconds how much to delay. So as you can see here, we click and wait 3 seconds, and boom, it works. So a fun thing here is that I just clicked a lot of times, and then after 3 seconds it actually works. So it doesn't just start one, it actually starts one every time, which then suddenly elapses. Yes?
But it elapses one click at a time, or after 3 seconds, it elapses all of them together?
No, 3 seconds after the given click.
3 seconds after the
So let's do a fun one here. So we have the old counter. I'm going to count that one up, and then we go with let local count. So you all got what I was doing here. I created a variable to count how many times I clicked. This is a little trick we all need. And I write out what was it exactly when I clicked, and what was it when I clicked when the timer ends. So let's actually do both of them, just so you can see some really funky stuff. So now whenever I click, it'll show me what the count was. After 3 seconds, it'll show what local count was and what count was at that point. So now I click a lot of times, and you see they happen.
Okay.
So you can actually see it was different instances every time. Notice how count, that was only what it was in the end, whereas local count was actually what it was at that point in time when I clicked the button.
What was that? Explain that again.
So let's try put.
Local count is
The one you
every
click.
time you
Yeah.
click, but the count is a total click.
Yeah, no, that's fine. But I was trying to determine.
So let's see if I do this now. I log out what it is at that point, and then I click 2 times. So as you can see, they follow along in the start, but then down there,
But
it's actually the previous low count.
You start eating up on the 3 seconds, right?
No, what is happening here is that it just say, all right, it tells Windows in 3 seconds, tell me I need to do something. And then I click the button again and it tells Windows in 3 seconds, tell me to do something. And then the previous 3 seconds, the first one, they elapse. And then Windows says to Chrome, hey, you needed to do something. Okay, I'll do whatever it was I need to do. Then the next 3 seconds elapsed. Then Chrome, you need to do something again. So that's really what's happening here. And the reason why this...
But it's like if you click 10 seconds, 10 times, it's not going to take 30 seconds. 30 seconds is not going to elapse.
No, it's 3 seconds. It'll log something out 3 seconds after I clicked. And in between these seconds, I can click again, and it'll set a new one. It doesn't affect the previous one. If you want to do
so that's why they overlap. That's what I was trying to get to.
Yeah.
So let's say you have the initial 3 seconds, right? So it starts here and ends here. So you click once, the first one is going to end here at 3 seconds. In between, so you have 10 clicks, right? So only when the first one finishes, then the rest is coming up. They start being logged, but then it doesn't take 30 seconds. It will just in 3 seconds it will log whatever was on the queue.
Yeah. So let's do something fun here.
So the first takes 3 seconds, but the next 10 could take 2.5 or 3 seconds.
So now we're actually doing something really fun. So now I'm adding 1,000 to count every time, and I am doing 30 seconds minus whatever the count was as the delay, because that'll. So
that's what I'm trying to get to. Yeah.
So
that's exactly.
Now comes the trick question. What do you think local count will be here, and what do you think it will be here, and in which order will they appear?
I think I'll start working on the voice activation thing exercise.
In the beginning it will be delayed, but then it will become the same.
In the beginning it will be delayed a lot, and then it will be delayed less and less and less and less. After I click 30 times, it won't be delayed at all.
No.
So what happens, and I apologize for the people who are missing this, but so we have, let's see, we have a times 0 here. We have a timeline here. Down here we have 30 seconds. So 30,000 milliseconds. So I click here. That'll set a timer here. And then before a second is up, so let's see, I'm very fast. So at 200 milliseconds, I click again. That'll set one down here at 29,000 and 200 technically. I click again. I'm very fast again. It sets one to 28, 4,000, and so on until they eat.
And then this will be like direct when you push this.
So what will actually happen is that rather than having these points here, right now local count the first time will be set to 1,000. The second time it will be set to 2,000, 3,000. And then down here, remember I queued them, I added them in reverse. So it'll actually be 1,000.
You want them in reverse because the initial time is 30 seconds.
Yes, and then I'm actually decreasing the amount of time I'm starting them with. So they'll actually be written out backwards. And that is local count, so we'll see. But what do you think? In which order do you think count will be written out?
Backwards.
No. Exactly. That will be assuming that I manage to click 30 times, so this will be locked at 30,000 before we start anything, and then right after it will have the first one that happens. So, and here we'll have 0 seconds of delay. So assuming I actually manage that, what do you think will be written out as count as we go through here?
Last one?
Yeah. 30,000 every time. Because count, when we get here, it just says, all right, what's the value of count now? It goes up, checks, well, that was set to 30,000, I'll set it to 30,000 and log that out. Local count, well, that was declared inside this function. And every time the function runs, we get some new variables to work with. So it'll just say, well, what was local count? Well, local count never changed, so that was 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 and such. So that's what I would expect to happen if this code works. And to make it even more clear, we can actually say that this one is const. So
I like the way he never guarantees anything. I expect to happen, but
well, then I haven't promised if it doesn't work. So if I just click here, you can see it counts up. And then you can see it actually starts writing them out backwards. So exactly what I would happen. I managed to click a bit more than 30 times, but so the first one we started ends last. Yes. Viola.
I may ask, so in reality, the local count 1000 was the first one that was clicked?
Yes,
Yeah.
as you can see up here, that's the first one we write out.
Mm.
But it's actually because set timeout was set with the biggest time there, so we can have multiple set timeout running in the at the same time, no problem.
So the set timeout allocates the time that needed for whatever happened between that between.
I mean, you can say it like that, I think.
So whatever you do between that, you have 30 seconds to.
Yeah,
The computer has 30 seconds to.
Yeah,
execute.
you can do whatever you want in that time, and that's the benefit of, like, let's try writing a really horrible set timeout.
Can you also draw a false stop?
Or what?
A false stop with event loop and
Of
off
course.
with a set timeout?
I'm just gonna be lazy about it and let Chrome do it.
What happened there?
I'm just waiting for it to time out because I didn't want to click 30 times. Also, just so you can see my theory, it doesn't actually require that I press it that many times. It'll just then end or start at 8000 if you will. So that's the call stack.
That's called what?
A call stack. So this function was called, and then this function, and which called this function, which called this function, and so on.
10 and 11. Okay.
Yeah, so console.trace, a little trick that writes out the call stack. So let's do really horrible set timeout. So usually callback, sometimes summarized as CB, and how much time. So let's go with end is equal to new date dot add get second, no, set seconds. Seconds plus time divided by 1000. This is a little trick. This will get us the time in whatever time. And then while new date dot get time is less than end, don't do anything. So this is really horrible code, and you should never ever do this. But for sake of argument, let's try. So what I'm essentially doing here is say, keep running this for loop until the clock is more than it was when we started or wanted it to end, I believe. No while, so like this. And let's just go with slightly lesser time, 10 seconds. So how well do you think my button will work now? Hint, hint, about what will happen.
He's just gonna click, and he's just going to.
So I'm gonna click, and nothing is happening. It's a really horrible set timeout function.
Because you have to wait 10 seconds for them to click it again.
Yes, and it's freezing the page meanwhile. So that's why you should use a set timeout, and don't write really horrible set timeout, as I did, because that is really horrible and your users will hate you. And as you can see, like, even animations and changing and styling does not work while the page is frozen like this, because the JavaScript is just so busy executing that there's never time for updating the page. And that's really what async JavaScript is about. So doing things like this properly, and don't do really horrible set timeout.
Can I copy it for a minute?
This?
The button set timeout part.
But you're gonna have it on. It's going to be posted on.
Technically not if I just removed it. I just moved it, but I can keep it here.
Do not try this.
Okay, quick question until
Yeah.
she's done copying. Now, I was working on something yesterday. There was some exercise to, it was with the, not the objects, but the pop and push and unshift and shift. To add something to an array and remove something. So I got the concept and I tried to add something, but I couldn't find how to, if I wanted to add like two values in different places, not in the beginning or not in the end. So let's say one value comes number 3 and the second one comes number 7.
There is this function called splice,
Yeah.
which is really, really horrible. I'll be the first one to admit that, but that'll do that.
Yeah, but I tried and I don't know, it came like, it added them both after each other.
Yeah, so what splice does, no, what's the name? It's not splice, it's
unshift adds in the beginning, I guess.
yes, but there is actually one for adding in the middle. Let's just Google that. JavaScript array add to. No splice, it just doesn't show it in website.
How many you would like to get here?
Yeah, so this one, there's two definitions here, that's why I was confused. So start is where you want it inserted. So say I want it on spot number or index number 1. Whether or not that's before 2, I don't actually remember. I don't want to remove anything. It's very important. And then I want to insert a new one. So this. So that.
So add one.
So this says add at index 1.
Index 1, yeah.
Remove nothing. And add this value.
Number 4.
Yeah, add the value 4, but we could also have add the value 4.
Yeah.
And if that works.
But what if I wanted to add 2 instead of 1?
Then you need to do this twice. If you say now I want it on space number 3.
Oh, so I have to specify each and every one, not all of them.
If you just want them added after each other, you can do this. And that'll work.
Yeah, that I was doing, but I was trying to do like, for
In
example,
different
add 4 and
places.
6, but 4 comes after 1, for example, and 6 comes after 3.
But then you need to do it like then you
different,
yes.
Okay. Because I thought maybe there's somewhere I tried to play with it, but
No, not really. And it's a really, really horrible way of doing it, and it's really annoying. And that's also why that this Stack Overflow post is so extremely popular. 4,000 votes, which is a lot, because this way of doing it doesn't make sense. And to be fair, other than coding practices, I have never had the need to do this. Never, to be honest. Adding to the end of the start or removing from the end of the start, never in the middle.
yeah.
But I have honestly never had the need for that. I don't doubt there is one, but I have never had it personally. So yeah, so we have half an hour left. Let's just see if we can have you go through the last exercise. It's relatively fast, but it requires some Googling. So, and yeah, let's go for 20 minutes max. I think you'll finish it before that, and then I'll do it up here, and then I don't think we can manage much more today.